Since politics is it's an interest-driven game. Politicians further their nests where their interests are best served. Governors in Nigeria are miffed by a decision of the National Assembly to make direct mode of party primaries compulsory in the Electoral Act. In the latest salvo, the Progressive Governors Forum labeled members of the National Assembly as products of the same indirect primary they now want to jettison for direct primary. They accused the federal lawmaker of smuggling the controversial clause into the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. It's a festering crisis that is difficult to predict who blinks first or have the last laugh. I remember the fate of the Electoral Act last time. After the back and forth, it got to Mr. President, and the reason that Mr. President, the presidency cited some typographical errors, cited some things that were not so palatable in that thing. That is how the whole efforts.
He actually talked about time, that the time before the election.
The whole effort.
Was the major
and the same fate will still affect this one too.
Mr. President did not sign. Now, we have a situation whereby the National Assembly bloc, the caucus of the All Progressive Congress National, they are together in this because of, they say, the larger interest of Nigerians. But the governors, the Almighty Governors Forum, powerful bloc, they're now saying that, look, Mr. President, don't sign.
That's what I'm saying, that the same fate may still affect this too. Yeah. Because the governors, you see, because the way Nigerian president, for example, will probably be one of the most powerful presidents in the world. You know, our president is like a king. He can do so many things. Okay. You understand? So, and when you get to the state, the governors are very powerful.
And when pressure on him.
Yes, when the governors come together and then put pressure on the Attorney General, because the Attorney General is the one that will advise. Normally, when they send it to the president will send it to the Attorney General for advice. So if the Attorney General advises, sir, I don't think you should sign it, the president will probably not sign it. And the governors have a lot of influence. They are powerful enough to be able to influence the Attorney General. And then again, there is this rumor that the Attorney General wants to run for governorship in his state.
In
Kebbi State. He wants to run for governorship in Kebbi State. And you know, politics is about interest. If you want to run for governorship in Kebbi State, you cannot succeed without the support of the governor of Kebbi now, who is on ground. You understand? So, and is the governor
from his own
senatorial district,
from his own ward, from the local government,
and is the
from his own units,
and is the governor of Kebbi,
that is the chairman of APC.
Is the one that was mandated by the Governors Forum to convince the Attorney General to advise the president not to sign. But you see, I can understand why the governors were scared. We have to tell ourselves the truth. Politics in Nigeria is not about who is more popular or more acceptable to the people. It is somebody who has the capability to influence the process. That's the person that gets elected. That's why you see that when people talk, they will say, oh, they are very popular. But you have election, and the number of people voted is almost
I don't understand.
Nothing. They did a primary in APC. Primary in APC. And the APC candidate scored over 200,000 votes.
Or said to have scored over 200,000
yes, that's what I'm saying. Within his own party.
Claimed to have scored.
Within his own party.
That's what they said.
Within his own party. They did the primaries. Now, in the general election, the guy got 40-something votes. Because even members, they are trying to tell us that even those who is supporters, who are members of his party, on election, they did not even vote for him. Because in most times, in indirect primaries, you understand, it is easy to manipulate the process. For example, the governor in a state, for example, may determine those who are going to be delegates who are going to go to that election.
There are some people that are called statutory delegates.
They'll be able to go there. Then even they can they will pick those who is their own. So that is why you know that when they are doing primaries, it is who can control the delegates. You see some people, they will go and hide their delegates in one hotel and then bring the delegates so that you won't be able to influence them monetarily with monetary inducements. But when you do direct primaries, what we are saying is that all members of the party all members of the party using the register of the party can come out and openly lying behind the person they want to support. So it is very difficult to manipulate that.
Jide, let me go to Jide first. Let me take reaction from Jide. Because we started this thing, this is like the third time on this topic. It's as if the National Assembly, before even meeting with the Vice President, before that meeting was held and everything, the members of the National Assembly just did what they had to do, and that it was passed. Babajide?
I didn't hear you.
What I'm asking you, your reaction to this controversial direct primary, this clause that was inserted into our Electoral Act.
Yes, the National Assembly members, the APC caucus of the National Assembly, realized that they had this power that they had not used for so long. Not everyone is prepared to be the slaves of governors. Governors in our country see themselves as God with a small letter G. And we had APC World Congresses. The governors quarantined the federal lawmakers in their states. The governors, if they were allowed to continue along this path, I can tell you that more than half, if not more than 3/4 of the federal lawmakers from the APC control states will not return to the National Assembly. So it was a choice that was easy for the federal lawmakers to make. Do we simply lay back and allow governors to destroy our political future? Because it got to the point that even governors were determining those who would supervise the congresses in their respective states. They were forwarding names. The same people who supervised the registration of party members were the same people returned to supervise the congresses in the respective states. This was the way the governors wanted it, which means that they will only do the bidding of the governors. That is not democracy. I hear people say, oh, indirect, direct primaries will alienate, would cause many people to spend money, will make INEC, will stretch the capacity of INEC. Of course, these governors will come and say all of those things because this decision took them by surprise. And when they summoned the meeting with the federal lawmakers, the lawmakers stood their ground. Late last week, stood their ground and went ahead the next day, the day after that meeting, to have it passed. Look at someone like Danjuma Goje in Gombe State. He knows that he's finished politically if this direct primary thing does not work. Because it is clear that a governor that is governor in a state does not want him to return to the Senate.
He doesn't want him to even visit the state.
He was traveling to his home state and he was waylaid. He was traveling for the wedding of his granddaughter and they stopped him. They said he will not enter Gombe. That's a person who was governor and made the current governor commissioner when he was governor. The excessive use of power by governors was what brought about the idea of direct primaries. Now I know they are going to pile pressure on the president to not give his assent.
That's what we are going to do.
If I were the president, I would go ahead and give my assent. Let everyone go and test his popularity. The direct primary module is the most participatory, is the best way of affirming the popularity of a candidate. If you are a card-carrying member, then you are free to vote.
Okay.
Not a situation in which governors determine delegates. Delegates at the primary level. It is that power. It is that power to singularly determine delegates that they are desperate to hold on to. That's why they are insisting that they don't want direct primary. They don't want direct primary. Why are you constituting yourself to God? To gods in your state?
For me, Adekunle, this is like, to me, my own interpretation of this is that this is petty on both sides. This is high power politics within the All Progressive Congress, as far as my investigation has shown. Do you understand? And it should not be brought into our electoral acts. You have 3 models of primaries. Is either direct or indirect or consensus that APC used to have before. Why don't you allow the political parties to go and decide however they want to choose their nominees?
That is the exact point I wanted to make.
What do you want to put it in the electoral act?
The Yorubas will say, Ori bibe, kologun ori fifo. The system we have on the ground may not be perfect. I don't know anyone who has participated in direct primaries and will come out to tell me that it's a better option to indirect primary. It's a worse version of indirect primary. I'm talking from experience. You get my point? Not just report. I'm talking from experience. Number one, when they tell you direct primary, if you base your knowledge on textbook definition of direct primary, participatory, good. I love that. But come to our country, go and participate. What we have is we are having problem with our politics. There used to be what they call party discipline. Do you have today? Do you have it today? There is what they call party supremacy. Do you have anything like that today? So since you don't have that, so what the governors and the National Assembly, members are fighting is just petty politics that do me, I do you, which to me, number one, in any state, is it part of our system to make the governors the leader of the party in the state? So the governor is bigger than the party in the state. At the national level, the president is bigger than the party. Let's be realistic.
That is it. Yes, that's it.
So these are the problems we need to solve. Now, in each party, how much of internal democracy do you have? That's the soul of democracy. Because from there, leadership recruitment begins from there.
Before we go to Abuja
so
again.
when you look at this, you now said, go and look at it. Everywhere they did direct primary. It's pure fraud. Pure fraud.
Okay, my own is not.
And I'm coming, when you now look at INEC, our law says when you do primaries, you bring in INEC
to supervise it. INEC will be the one to conduct this.
The party itself, INEC, all of them, there is no capacity, to do what they call election, primary election. So all you have is you just bring in figures and tell people you've done it.
My own take is that I have to disagree with you a little bit. I think direct primaries is better than indirect. It's more participatory because we have done it before during the time of IBB. Then they call it option A4. Yeah. And it came out, yes, and it
which
came out,
we abandoned.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't use it then, and it worked because we were able to appoint people that were actually popular or wanted by the people. Option A4 is still, but that is the same option A4 that was used for Abiola and all of them. Because it worked. It's not as if it cannot work. The only difference in direct primary is that you are part of the democracy is that ability to choose without being put under pressure to show your preference, which you cannot do under direct primary. Because under direct primary, you will say, okay, candidate A, people will line up and say, we are for candidate A. So people will have it. But you see what that will do, what that helps is that it will reduce this idea of people buying votes because you cannot collect money now and go and stay behind another person. You understand? But the only problem I think is better, because you see the problem with the indirect primaries is that the governors are all in all, they determine who are the delegates. It's so simple. And when they determine the delegates, so what you negotiate, even at the presidential level, is how many states you can get.
Finally, let's go to Jide.
But I don't think it should be in the,
I don't know if you
I don't think it is right to put it in the act.
Okay, if you want to counter my own argument of this electoral act thing, that it should be the headache of APC or PDP,
yes,
how they choose their candidates, while putting it on the general electoral act.
Well, the federal lawmakers have power to amend the constitution.
Yeah.
They have power to make laws. So I wonder why we will appoint people as our lawmakers, as our ears and ears in the National Assembly, and people will be wondering why they are doing their work. Why should governors, you people in the studio have not addressed how governors have turned themselves to gods in their states and are singularly determining who succeeds them and who becomes a candidate in an election.
Yes.
Why do you think the APC lawmakers got to this point? A governor from the Northwest decided that all the senators from his state must not return to the National Assembly. Because he had the power to handpick delegates.
Yes.
What sort of nonsense is that?
Delegate is not good. The governor will just speak.
What is politics? What is democracy? If individuals will by themselves singularly pick people, was it like that during Awolowo's time? No, you've got to. Even if Awo had preferences for people, he will go and preach to people that this is my candidate.
And a lot of times, even
governors are doing things alone.
But this was not the kind of politics we played then. We have to agree. Even if we continue with direct primary, I can guarantee you, those who fund the party, the governors, will still have the upper way. That means the upper hand. Or whoever is the big
no, but it's no way it will be more difficult.
And what can they will do everything they want to do, and they will still get whatever they want.
Not necessarily.
They will.
Not necessarily. Let me tell you why it's not necessary.
Okay.
Because you see, when you're doing direct primaries, it's easier because one, the number of delegates,
the man on the streets that will come and determine
in the direct primary, everybody that is a card carrying member
will come.
That makes it more difficult for you to be able to influence the process. That's why they don't want to take it. Because, for example, let me tell you something. Let's say in Lagos State, for example, you want to do direct primaries. You understand? It is registered that in Ikeja local government, we have 100,000 members or 50,000 members, card carrying members, because there's a register of all registered members. You understand? And then we want to do an election. It will be difficult for the governor, for example, to determine everybody or the political group within the political group in that state. It will be more. It's not as if they may not succeed, but it will be more difficult for them to be able to control the entire process. Because, for example, if we let's say in Ojodu, for example, let's say members in Ojodu, we don't agree with this candidate. We say, no, this is our own candidate. We live in Ojodu. This is the person that we want.
The majority.
So you understand? If you tell us to do direct primary, we will defeat you because we have the numbers there.
But why?
The only difference in the thing is that people may not have that privacy and to be able to protect their choice. But in terms of participating democracy, direct primary is better than indirect primary.
Okay, I think the ball will now move to the president.
For assent, yeah. But I believe that it will not give that assent.
We've spent money, we've done so many things, and according to Jide, are you still there? Do you see the president signing this? That this will not go, because the problem, if the president does not sign, it will affect every other law and every other recommendation. That it might be a case of throwing away the baby and the bathwater.
No one is sure. The governors have a history of piling pressure on the president and pushing him to not decide. when the president came up with that executive order to give autonomy to the legislature and the judiciary, the governors went to him, as selfish as they are, ever selfish. They went to the president and stopped him from gazetting that order. And the president did not do anything. He took the strike. He took the strike by workers for us to now have that autonomy for legislature and the judiciary. Why are governors behaving like this? If it was possible, how can you have a situation in which an individual handpicks, cherry picks people who will go and determine who contest an election? Is that what the framers of our law envisaged? Did they envisage that governors will be behaving like a Greek god and simply go and be choosing candidates by themselves? Just themselves?
Yeah, thank you.
So that is the thing.